everyone. It's me, New York vocalist Benita Charles. How's everyone doing tonight? I am here in New York City for another episode of Singing Tips. I hope everyone's doing well. Hello. Hi, I see I have a few people join. Hello, and welcome to Singing Tips. It's good to see you. It's been about 2 weeks. I didn't do one last week. I had a gig, as you saw from all the pictures. It was an awesome gig with Preacher Man and the Revival in Brooklyn at Rubalad. It was awesome. Hi, hello Ansel. How are you? So good to see you on Singing Tips on this beautiful evening. How are you doing? Wow, long time. Thanks so much for joining me for Singing Tips. It's been about 2 weeks now, but I'm back. Hi, Miss Tia. Hello. Thanks so much for joining. Good to see you. I hope you're having a wonderful, wonderful weekend. And missed you guys last week, but I had a gig with with Preacher Man and the Revival. It was a really awesome gig. Oh, thank you. Thanks so much. I really appreciate that. So back again for another episode of Singing Tips. So we've been talking about your image. We've been in the image section for a minute, but thank you, darling. I hope you're having a wonderful weekend, wonderful evening, and appreciate you, all of the love and support you guys give me. It's really awesome. You are awesome, amazing. So I really enjoy this. I mean, this is the best part for me, is the interaction. I really love the interaction with you guys. I mean, I could do a video and it's just me talking, but I mean, the best part to me is actually interacting with you all. So I really love it. Yes, so if you're new to Singing Tips, every week I give singing tips to beginner singers to help them become professional. We've talked about everything from talent, live performance, original music, and now we're talking about your image. So all of the things that we've been talking about the last few weeks has all been about how to present yourself in the best light, your image. Now, your image consists of your appearance, your communication, and your behavior. So we've been talking about your behavior. So all of the tips that we've been talking about deals with your behavior when it comes to your image. But before we go into that, as you know, if you've been following me all these weeks, I always talk about my inspiration to Singing Tips. In addition to wanting to provide tips to beginner singers, I was inspired by the movie Get On Up. Now, I've been talking about this for a whole year. I've been talking about this movie. But the only reason why is because this movie was instrumental in the way. Hi, Sterling. How are you? Thanks so much for joining me live on Singing Tips. But I was talking about the movie Get On Up, the movie I talk about every week. Hi, Henry. Thanks so much for joining. But yeah, it was inspired by the story of James Brown, and something in that movie struck a chord with me and inspired me to design Singing Tips a certain way. And there was a section in the movie where James was talking to his manager. He wanted to take a more executive role in his business. He wanted to produce his own concert. And his manager said, "This is show business. You take care of the show and I take care of the business." And James Brown said, no, I'm going to do both. And it really struck a chord with me, because in music and as a singer, not only is there the music, but there is the business. So we have a show part and a business part. So that's kind of how the whole concept of the way I design the show. Talk about it every week because it's really important. You know, for years, I just thought about the show. I didn't really think about the business part. And that's, you know, a lot of times more important because that's how you make your money. But right now we're talking about your image. And we've been talking about, as I said, with your image, it's your appearance, your communication, and your behavior. So we've been talking about your behavior, and not last week, because last week I had the gig, but the week before we talked about time management. So today is an ouch moment for me, because it kind of actually is a sister to time management. So I wanted to talk about self-discipline. So as I said before, the last time we talked, these principles that I'm talking about can apply to any career. It doesn't have to be singer. I mean, we're talking about as it applies to singers. But self-discipline is something that you're going to need for anything you want to do in order to be successful. And this is something that I struggle with, and I wanted to kind of be transparent about it. I'm not going to get on here and pretend like my life is perfect and I'm doing all these things. I mean, these tips are for me as it is for you, a reminder for me to get it together. Now, I wanted to just give you a little bit of background on my story and my struggles when it comes to self-discipline. So I want to go back to childhood, because everything we do in life kind of goes back there. Now, when I was a kid, I was the kind of kid that loved to play, and I loved to play first. So I would play first, and then I would do what I had to do, homework or whatever. I was a kid that if I had a paper that was due, I had, everybody had a certain amount of time to get it done. I was a kid that was up the night before till like 4 in the morning finishing my paper. And that's only because I like to play first, and then I do what I have to do. And can I tell you how that's worked out for me? You can guess it. Not very well. I mean, I always say, I love to just do it at the last minute because I get the energy and all that. But that's really not a great way to live. And now when we talk about self-discipline, I wanted to bring up something that we had expert the last time for a time management, which was Ed Preacher Man Holly. And his father said something to him that I think that really applies to self-discipline. And his father used to say to him, do what you got to do so that you can do what you want to do. Do what you got to do so that you can do what you want to do. And I thought, that is actually perfect for self-discipline. And also when I think about myself as a kid, and even kind of like that grew up in me, I always played first. But then I had the daunting task of doing what I had to do. But exactly, love it, exactly. But had I did what Mr. Holly said, do what you got to do so that you can do what you want to do, that would make so much more sense. And I think about, also in terms of my childhood, I want to think about my dad, because my dad and I didn't get along. My dad was a very stern person. I mean, my mom told me some things recently that my dad had a really hard childhood. So his father was very hard on him. In turn, he was very hard on me. And I just couldn't understand, why he was always pressing me. For instance, he bought a piano when I can't remember how old I was, maybe 10. I would say a little old in terms of piano, because, you want to start your kids very young. And he bought this piano and he forced me to play. And I hated it. I hated it. First of all, I hated the fact that he forced me to play. And so I joined the band as well, and I played the clarinet, and I loved it. So I practiced all the time, and my dad couldn't understand. He was just like, I can't understand. You play that darn clarinet, but you won't practice the piano. And a part of it was because he made me do it, and I hated it. And so I kind of rebelled against that and then didn't learn, because I just was like, he's not going to tell me what to do. I regret not learning, because, it would really have helped me in terms of my music. But back then, I didn't know that. But But I was thinking not too long ago, I was like, you know, my dad was so hard on me, and I just can't understand. And I didn't know why. And then I had an epiphany years later, and I said, you know what? The reason why my dad was so hard on me is because he was trying to teach me self-discipline. But because I was so rebellious, and because I didn't understand, and I was just like, he's not gonna make me do it. But I realized, I said, you know what? Had I had self-discipline, maybe my dad wouldn't have thought that he needed to be so hard on me. Oh, you're from Arkansas too? Yes, that's my dad. That's, I have some friends from Gurdon. My friend Henry is a classmate. Yeah, my dad is from Gurdon, Arkansas. So I grew up there partly. But yeah, and I was like thinking like, maybe the problem was me. It wasn't my dad. It was the fact that my dad was trying to teach me self-discipline. He knew that I needed to practice. He knew, and so he was on me constantly. But because I like to play, I didn't understand. So now it's sort of like, when you get older and you think back, you get wiser. And I said, my dad was trying to teach me self-discipline. That's why. And I just thought he was being mean. But really, it was out of love. And I realized, I said, oh, that's what it was. Had I had a better understanding, and maybe also too, I think it was just the way he was brought up. So he didn't understand your approach is everything as well. But anyway, I don't want to get off into that. But I just wanted to make a point of the fact that the self-discipline. And I think it was because, like I said, I like to play first and then do what I had to do. Now, I saw a study. This was years ago. It was kind of like, hello, Victor, how are you? OBU, yeah, that's right, my college, OBU, Washington University. That's in Arkadelphia, Arkansas, by the way. All of you who don't know, but that's in Arkadelphia, Arkansas. OBU Tigers, there you go. But anyway, I wanted to just talk about that because this is something that I'm still struggling with. And I think, as Mr. Holly said, do what you got to do so that you can do what you want to do. If you do what you have to do first, get it out of the way. That is so true. And then I can play. Then you can play. So I have 3 ways of improving your self-discipline. Now, this is going to apply for me. So anyone who's struggling with this, and I have this list. So the first thing I have is make a list of things that need to be done for the day, and prioritize that list for the top 5 things that need to be done. And then I have do the things that you hate first. So I read this book once called Eat That Frog by Brian Tracy, and that's one of the things that he said in terms of the frog. The frog is the thing that you just really don't want to do. His thing was do the thing that the biggest thing is that you're dreading. Do it first. And I find that to be very true. A lot of times, if you just plug through and do it and get it done, it just makes the day so much easier. And then all the other things that you need to do just flows. And then I have do it even when you don't feel like it. Now, that's when the self-discipline comes in. There are times when you're not going to feel like doing whatever it is you want to do. Those things that's on your top 5 list. Those things that you know you have to do. But if you can push yourself through it, if you can push yourself to do it, you would be amazed at what's on the other side of that. You would be amazed at what you can accomplish. So this is something that I'm still working on. I mean, I'm not perfect. I'm still working on it. But I tell you what, self-discipline. Sorry guys, I didn't mean to turn that around. Self-discipline is one of the keys to success. It really is, because self-discipline is going to keep you at your goals. It's going to keep you doing what you need to do, whether you feel like it or not. And that's the thing. When you're a type of person that likes to play first, you kind of base things on how you feel. Oh, I don't feel like doing that. Oh, I'll do it later. And then sometimes later never comes and you don't get it done. And I know firsthand that if you can just push yourself through those times when you don't feel like it, because there's so much that needs to be done when it comes to your goals. There's so much that needs to be done when it comes to doing what you have to do. And that's what's going to set you apart from everyone else. Because if it was easy, everyone would do it. And if anybody can agree with, I want to see some reactions on that one. If it was easy, everyone would be doing it. So if you can, this is one behavior that if you can master, self-discipline, you will be successful. So I don't know if you guys noticed. Oh, thank you. Absolutely. So I don't know if you guys noticed that I posted something a little earlier. I went to a wealth summit today. It was hosted by Damon John of Shark Tank, and he had a couple of other presenters there as well. But it was really, really inspiring. Now, speaking of self-discipline, this was something that I had signed up for earlier in the week, and it was 9 o'clock in the morning, Saturday, from 9 to 3. And at first I said, I don't mind doing it. But then when I said, 3 o'clock, I don't know if I want to be there all day. I don't know if I'm going to go. Now, that's where the self-discipline came in, because I ended up going. I didn't really feel, I was just like, I don't want to be there all day. But it actually was a really good decision. There were gentlemen there who talked about real estate. There was a gentleman who talked about being an entrepreneur. And another gentleman talked about tax liens, like how to make money during buying tax liens and different things. These are things that, I didn't think about real estate, but I really wanted to see Damon John, and he was the last presenter. It was well worth the time. Even all of the information about real estate that I didn't know. And then I also met people. I met some really great people. I met at least 10 people there. But I wanted to share some things that Damon John talked about. And the biggest thing is, he said, do what you love. And if you believe in yourself and your cause with your whole being, you'll find a way to get it done. And he talked about his journey in terms of his label, FUBU, how he started his label. Hi, Samantha. Thanks so much for joining. I'm talking about the wealth seminar that I attended today with Damon John, and it was really inspiring. He talked about how he started his clothing company. He talked about, and what I really loved about his presentation, he had music, and he had multimedia. It was like multimedia, because he had music, he had a projector, and he told his presentation was like a story. Like, he told his journey into entrepreneurship from a very humble beginnings, and to his time on Shark Tank. But one of the key takeaways that he said was, set a goal, and you take small steps towards those goals. You're gonna fail, but that failure are lessons. But if you take small steps, it's gonna be small lessons towards what you want to do. He said, do your homework. Take inventory, learn your industry, learn your craft, and you want to find, because he said, you're really not gonna create anything in this world. Pretty much everything has been done. But the thing is, it's gonna be your way of delivery. It's gonna be how you reach the audience. It's gonna be what you bring to the table. He said, love what you do. strategic partners start at home. Invest in people, not companies. And he said, remember, you are the brand. And he said, you need to master your pitch in 2 to 5 words. Because he said sometimes you may have a small window to pitch to someone, and you need to be able to do that in an instant. So these were some really good takeaways in terms of just your business, in terms of what you're trying to do with your career, with your life. I thought these were great takeaways. And if you ever get a chance to see, because it's free, it was a free seminar, because he has a program in terms of helping entrepreneurs. So basically, this was an introductory for the programs for his business, as well as the real estate. The gentlemen who were there about real estate, they had one for real estate. They had one for business, Damon, and then the gentleman who did tax liens, there's a business for that. So basically, this was kind of like an introductory meeting for those businesses, to sign up for those businesses. But there were so many golden nuggets that you could get from all of the presenters. But I really felt like Damon John really brought it home, and it was just very inspiring. So if you ever have an opportunity to go in your city, it's free, I say go. I met so many great people. It was so much great information, great nuggets. So, you know, I just wanted to kind of mention that too, because it was, and I really feel like this all goes into self-discipline in terms of all the things that you have to do, regardless of what you're trying to do, all the things that you have to do in order to be a success. So that's going to do it for me. Today we were talking about self-discipline, and just to give you a recap of what I was talking about, I talked about growing up. For me, I was the type of kid that liked to play first, and that kind of grew up in me in the sense of I kind of did what I wanted to do first, and then I had to do what I needed to do. And sometimes that didn't always work out for me, especially like in school. If I waited to the last minute to do papers, waited to the last minute to study, that's not the best way to do it. And I brought up Mr. Holly, Ed Preacherman Holly's father. He was a coach, and he instilled something in him, and the message was, do what you gotta do so that you could do what you want to do. And I think that is the best policy, because you get it out of the way, and then you have all the time in the world to do what you want to do. So my 3 ways to improve self-discipline, if this is something that you suffer with as me, make a list of the things that you need to do for that day and pare it down to the top 5. And you're going to work on, then we're going to pare it down to the top 3, and then the number 1 thing, and that should be the thing that you need to do, that's gonna be the most effective for you. And it may be something that you don't want to do, it may be something that is daunting, but this is what you need to do first. And I also have, do it even if you don't feel like it. And this is a big point. This is a big point I want to make, because sometimes you're not going to always feel like doing the things that you need to do. Sometimes you're not going to always feel like doing some of these tips that I talk to you about, or taking those steps that you need to take. But if you can do that, if you can do one thing, if you can just do it even if you don't feel like doing it, you would be amazed at what you can accomplish. You would be amazed at what's on the other side of that. And I can attest, there have been so many times when I just didn't want to do it, but I did it anyway. I pushed through it, and I'm gonna say 100% of the time, usually it's been positive, because I pushed through that. So I think if there's one thing you can take away from what I want to say today, is do it even when you don't feel like doing it. Especially if it's something you know you need to do, do it even when you don't feel like doing it, because that's what's going to set you apart. That's what's going to make you a success. So I would have to say it was a successful day for me today. It was so inspiring hearing Damon John's story, and just how he, especially when it comes to self-discipline, he talked about when he didn't have money and how he did it anyway, how he found innovative ways of getting around the fact that he didn't have money. He talked about how people who helped him along the way, using other people's money, and helped him along the way to be where he is now. But it took a lot of heart, it took a lot of self-discipline, it took a lot of belief in himself. And so it was really inspiring, and I just want to inspire you that whatever it is you want to do, if you want to do it bad enough, you can do it. There is a way. Even when it doesn't seem like a way, there's a way. But do your best, practice self-discipline, as I talked about this week, practice time management, as I talked about the previous week, and you can do it. You can do it. So we're getting close to the end of the image section. So I hope this is helpful. So let me know if this has been helpful to you. Let me know. I really appreciate all of your support. Oh, I do want to say a big thank you to you all for this week showing me so much love. I really appreciate it, and I'm telling you, that truly uplifted me, just to know that I have so much love out here. And I just want to give it back to you and just say thank you so much for your support. I hope that these singing tips have been helpful to you. If so, let me know. I'm looking for some testimonials. So if this has been helpful to you, let me know, and let me know how. And if I have your permission to use it when I compile my book, I would love it. But anyway, yeah, so I also want to mention, as I mentioned before, I have a Facebook community called the Born to Sing Society. So go to bit.ly Born to Sing 17. Sorry, I don't have it written. Born to Sing 17. Or on Facebook, just look for the Born to Sing Society. And on there, I post inspirational messages and any performance information, me and my friends. So please join me for that. I have a blog for singing tips. It's BCM Sings on Instagram. Click on the link in the bio. It takes you to the blog. I have to update for the previous one and today, so I'll be doing that soon. But thank you so much, and I hope you have a wonderful evening. Thanks so much for joining me, and I'll see you next time on Singing Tips, as we are continually to discuss your image. So have a wonderful weekend, and thanks so much for joining me, and I'll talk to you soon.